Helldivers 2 is a game that virtually every gamer has heard of. It's taken over the world out of nowhere. I've heard that it sold over 8 million copies so far, and virtually everybody in the gaming space is enamored with it. Well, I've done a series of videos on this channel looking at games like Escape from Tarkov, Hunt Showdown, and others, including the finals. You can find all those videos on this channel. But what can DEADROP and Midnight Society take from Helldivers? Even though there's very different genres, one's a co-op game and one is a PvPvE extraction shooter, there's actually some overlap here and some interesting things the Midnight Society can learn from the success of Helldivers 2. And Dr. Disrespect himself even spoke about this on stream. So let's hear what he had to say, and let me elaborate on at least one huge feature that I think Midnight Society can implement, which would make a huge difference for DEADROP.
There's a lot of things in here that we are basically making as well for DEADROP. Believe it or not, like there's a lot of similarities and crossover in terms of, I think, responsiveness of things, how everything's so interactive on the run, the missions, and the extraction process, the cinematic kind of, but like everything's like, but I'm still fluid with controls and everything. There's a lot of that happening that is very, something that we're going to be striving for with DEADROP and our take on a PvP vertical extraction experience.
So you heard it from the two-time himself. What I think he's talking about, again, it's you're staying in your character. You're never really losing control of your character in Helldivers 2, whether you're in your ship, going out on a mission, dropping in a pod, so on and so forth. You're totally immersed in this world and experience, and I think I can see that in DEADROP. I mean, he doesn't specifically name what features he's talking about, but when you think of how everything's going to interact, or how I envision it interacting in that player hideout that we're going to get in DEADROP. We already had an early version of it in an earlier snapshot. It's coming back with customization and so on. And we've heard that there's going to be, NPCs and factions perhaps, or faction representatives in that player hideout. You can imagine yourself taking contracts, interacting with the vendor, for example, possibly all those things in that same essential, that one hub where you go to one room to customize your character and gear up, and go somewhere else to the garage to take a look at your car and customize your car and accept your objectives and contracts and so on. I think that's what Doc's getting at. I love that. I know in certain games, like for me, a lot of you know I'm no Escape from Tarkov fan, but that just like endless amount of menus and like interaction with text and so on and so forth, it isn't super exciting. And if DEADROP can make it a little more immersive and kind of make, like, again, more, not cinematic, because cinematic gives you the idea of like cutscenes. That's what people normally think. But that cinematic experience, that immersive experience, kind of like how Helldivers 2 does, that seems to be what the doc is getting at. But I've got something even better. When I think of Helldivers 2, there's one thing that I think has been an extreme success. I don't think it's the gameplay. I don't think it's the graphics. Neither one of those are bad things. I'm not knocking them. But the thing that has pulled Helldivers to be the massive success that it has turned into, in my opinion, is not just the community approach, but the community objectives and goals, and this overarching community feeling that everybody is working towards one unified set of objectives and progress. And I think this is an underplayed feature in gaming in general. Other games have done this here and there. Helldivers isn't the first game to have community objectives, or when the community reaches a certain goal, they reveal something or release something. But Helldivers is doing it on a large scale, and I think this has created not only a great sense of community, but people just in general. It's like that battle pass feeling, but on a grand scale, and it applies to everybody. Like, you're contributing to something wider, and I think DEADROP can do this as well on a number of scales. We've already got right now in this early pre-alpha state of the game, we're still in a test build, for God's sakes, but we've got leaderboards, and all this data is being tracked. Kills, matches played, the actual DEADROPs and extractions and all these things, and that's probably only going to expand over time, right? Well, imagine DEADROP having community-driven objectives, and maybe not on the scale of Helldivers, but I think Midnight Society can work this idea into DEADROP and actually have the world, react to the community, for example. So, whether it be a certain new feature gets unlocked or released when the community achieves a certain thing, or again, you can tie, I've talked about how the tower can evolve with seasonal storylines. For example, a certain sector sees changes because of whatever story is happening that season. You could also tie that into that community objective concept. So, have a certain objective where once players achieve a certain thing in a certain sector a certain number of times, and it's all tracked so the players can, see their progress, which Helldivers does as well. You can see how liberated a planet is. Then a certain event will transpire. And, for example, Fortnite does like their live events, which are huge community moments. Everybody always wants to see what's going to happen. They're all logged in and waiting to see this huge thing, how the game's going to change and how the universe is going to change, how the story's going to move forward. And I think DEADROP can really apply that same idea and really help create that sense of community even more in DEADROP and the Midnight Society community at large. Maybe how you move it through a story idea is once the community, this is just an example of how Helldivers would probably do it, kill enough cleaners in a certain sector and something is going to happen with the cleaners in that sector. Maybe a new type of cleaner gets deployed for a limited time, or a certain boss becomes available, which obviously may drop a rare item, something like that. Like, there's a million different ways that they can take this, and sky is the limit. And what's really interesting is that Helldivers is arguably maybe not even a AAA game, right? It certainly isn't a big budget game. If you don't know its developer, which is clearly has a major hit on its hands, it's obviously PS5 exclusive in addition to the PC. But they are not, this is like the most AAA game that they have released up till this point in time. This isn't an Infinity Ward or a Respawn, an EA, or an Activision type thing. Yes, it's published by Sony, but their other games are and I don't mean that to use this term in a derogatory way, because I love indie games. They're essentially an indie developer. Look at a lot of their other games. They're top-down isometric games with stylized graphics. They've obviously worked very hard to get to the point where they are at, and the success that they're achieving with Helldivers 2 is obviously very well and earned the hard way, so to speak. But what I'm saying is this is within the scope of what Midnight Society can do as a new developer with a new IP, and it really seems possible for them to, harness that community objective concept and make DEADROP an even bigger success than any of us ever envisioned. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. If you have any other ideas, for something that Midnight Society can take from the Helldivers 2, they can implement to DEADROP, let me know down in the comments. Doc's comments certainly opened up my mind to what he was talking about, but then I got this other idea and wanted to run with it and get this video out there. I've got another video in the works, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want more DEADROP and Midnight Society news. We work at it 24/7 on this channel. You can also join me on twitch.tv/MayorReynolds, and check out my Patreon, where you can help support the production of our next live-action DEADROP short film, Midnight 2 Born Ruthless. Every single dollar helps our production, so check that out. Check out the first short film if you haven't seen it. We'll see you in the next video. Mayor Reynolds, out. This video is sponsored by G Fuel Energy, a sugar-free energy drink available in both powdered and canned form, and you can get 20% off using code MAYOR at discount. That's just MAYOR, M-A-Y-O-R. Right in checkout, it's going to get you 20% off. There's a ton of good flavors, including this new Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty flavor. If you need a competitive edge, guys, something to keep you up on those late nights, or just get you hyped for whatever the latest release is, look no further than G Fuel Energy and use code MAYOR to get a discount on your order and support my content and channel at the same time.